Uh, I'm sure some of you should know that we're founded by Irene Asari, former HR director of Tullow Oil and the current HR director of BBC News Global. Our services are executive recruitment and headhunting services. We also offer HR advisory. We also do leadership training and development. And then we also do some coaching and mentoring programs. And we hope that your participation in this program and this short time with us will be worthwhile. We're so excited to give back through this means as we also use this occasion to earmark our anniversary celebration. So thank you very much. If you need any more information about us, feel free to email me at amelia.quist@carvinclay.com. I'll put it in the chats. And if you need any other information, I'll put that there as well. And thank you.
Thank you, Amelia. Lovely. For CarvinClay, it's a brand that I am so proud to be associated with. I'm actually enrolled on the mentoring program, and I'm getting value for it. And I know the next cohort is going to be overwhelming because we have positive feedback for all our practitioners. All right, so my name is Patrick, and I'm going to be hosting you. I'm so excited to be hosting you today. We have great people lined up to speak to us on this all-important topic, very experienced colleagues in the HR space. I want to introduce the panelists, then we can kickstart the session. As Amelia mentioned, let's be as interactive as possible. Let's get the value from this. Let's ask all the questions that would be on our minds, and let's give feedback to the panelists. The only way they can know how well they're doing is whether they are able to prick our conscience is when we ask questions. So please, let's be engaging, and let's have a successful session. So the first panelist is Mr. Roland Teye. Roland is a consulting partner for Deloitte, Ghana. He has spent the last 11 years delivering human capital solutions across multiple sectors, both as a practitioner and a consultant. He has extensive experience in organizational development, organizational behavior, psychometric designs, training and development, psychological interventions, and management coaching. He's worked on a number of assignments for clients, both in the public and civil service, banking, oil and gas sectors. He holds a degree in psychology with information studies from the University of Ghana. And he has a Master's of Science degree in occupational and organizational psychology from the University of East London, UK. If Roland is here, can we see you to welcome you to today's session? Mr. Teye, if you're here, can we see you on camera? Yeah. Great, thank you so much. Thank you so much for making it, sir. So let me introduce the second panelist. Then we can kickstart. The second panelist is a former senior colleague, Dr. Ebenezer Agbettor. He's currently the executive director for the Chartered Institute of Human Resource Management, Ghana. Eben, as I call him, very affable man. He's an experienced HR practitioner. And like I mentioned, he is the chief executive of the HR Institute here in Ghana. Prior to this, he had worked as a general manager and HR business partner for Vodafone Ghana, where I actually met him and became his protege. He served as a tutor and a learning advisor on the Henley Management College, UK rather. He has that is their MBA program, their MBA program. He facilitated as a tutor. He also served as a senior management consultant for Lexcroft Consult Limited. He served as a management consultant for PricewaterhouseCoopers and worked as an assistant project manager for Look Ahead House in UK. Eben holds an MBA from the University of South Bank University, UK, postgraduate diploma in accounting and finance from Thames Valley University, UK, postgraduate diploma in management studies from the Kingston University, UK. That's a long profile. And he's a fellow at the Chartered Institute of Human Resource Management, Ghana. He's also a fellow of the Ghana Institute of Management. In addition, he also a PhD in theology from the Emmanuel Bible Institute and Seminary, USA. And he has an MA in ministry from the Trinity Theological Seminary here in Accra, Lagos. I don't know if Dr. Agbettor is on the line. Can we have you? Hello, Dr. Agbettor.
Good morning to you. Yeah, good morning, Dr. Patrick.
Hi, Dr. Agbettor.
How are you?
I'm doing very well, sir. I'm happy to
good to see you.
To moderating the session today where you are on.
Yes.
As the session go on, I'll share my experience with Ebby. Ebby is a great guy. I worked under him as a junior colleague, and what I am today is largely due to his advice, and I'm excited to be moderating the session, sir. Welcome.
Thank you, and I'm humbled by all the nice things you said. Thank you very much.
Great. So at this point, we'll give the floor to the panel members to give their opening remarks. So, Mr. Teye, can we have your opening remarks? Then we can go to Dr. Agbettor and we'll kickstart the session. Thank you.
Hi, thanks. Thanks, Patrick. I hope I can be heard clearly.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, thanks. So I think for myself and on behalf of Deloitte, I think I'm more than privileged to be on this session. Definitely we're here to share ideas and experiences and get to understand what the changing world of work is requiring of us in terms of how our people feel safe and comfortable to share their thoughts and ideas, and the extent to which these thoughts and ideas and innovations can help us as leaders, managers, and business minded people to get the best out of the people we work with. So I'm looking forward to a very interactive session, and we'll see how it all goes. But thank you so much, Patrick.
Thank you so much, Mr. Teye. Good to hear from you. Can we hear from Dr. Agbettor?
Certainly, I also count this as a privilege. I would say that this topic is well placed in the sense that not long ago, I was on the team that is reviewing, or I am on the team that is reviewing the Labor Act. And incidentally, is it Section 118 of the Labor Act, where it touches on is mainly focusing on the physical side. So it means that when it comes to the psychological well-being, the act kind of is so silent on it. So this is an area that we talked about as to how we can then have it featured in the act, so that it become a kind of a law thing that organizations will be expected, not that I feel like, but will be expected to carry through such a very important activity that is required at the workplace. So I'm excited about this, and I'm hoping that we will all share our ideas, and then we all learn from one another to enhance these areas, especially for our practitioners, so that they can have it applied at their various organizations. So we look forward to a very fruitful discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. This sounds very interesting. So just to carry all of us along, by the nature of the program, we'll have the panel discussions. Then after that, we'll have question and answer sessions. So, so you can note your questions down. You can also put them in the chat box, and we would ensure that we attend to all of them. Thank you very much. This is a very key issue. Every organization, one of the things that is lacking, and what the differentiating factor between organizations that are innovative and those that are not, is the issue of psychological safety. How safe do people feel? How safe are they? Can they challenge what it is, what the status quo is, and feel that they still have their jobs, or they will not be harassed, they will not be embarrassed, they will not be talked down on? That feeling would determine whether the individual is able to come up with new ideas or not. And so I'm excited to be moderating the session today. So straight to the point, I'll go straight to our panelists. The floor is yours. I want to find out, personally, what does psychological safety mean to you as an individual? I know in your opening remarks, you've already made some allusion to what the topic is all about, but what does it mean in the work context for you as a person? So let me go to Mr. Teye, then I can come to Dr. Agbettor. What does psychological safety mean in the work environment for you as a person? I think you are muted. Yes.
Okay, great. So for me, psychological safety is basically, being able to have the opportunity to challenge the status quo. Challenging the status quo, of course, within the limits of what you are allowed to. Because like you say, to everything, there's an extent to which you need to be mindful of. It's the feeling of inclusiveness, the feeling of, it being safe for you to contribute to something that has been tabled. And of course, also being able to have a safe environment for you to also learn, because you need to be able to have the opportunity to make mistakes as part of the learning experience. But if you now kind of expand this into a broader context and you look at it from a team perspective, then it's more or less having that shared belief within a team that, in terms of the interpersonal risk that exists within the team, our behaviors will not be looked in a way, or our utterances or our contributions will not be looked in a way that, we'll feel like we are being punished for saying what we are saying, or being marginalized, or being embarrassed in any way or form. So I'm sure the other panelists will take it up, from a leadership, because I've just spoken about it, broadly. So that's just my opinion on this.
Great, thank you. Dr. Agbettor.
Yes, I think Roland has captured it very well, but I'll just kind of maybe throw a bit more light on what he said. Basically, I would say this is a place where the culture of openness, transparency, open engagement, and where I will use the term adult to adult communication are part of the norm. It is the norm. This is how we speak to each other. This is how we are open to each other. And as a result of that, it helps employees feel comfortable airing their views, challenging the status quo, as Roland said, without fear of retribution, intimidation, or victimization. And hopefully that helps to build a shared belief that indeed the team is safe, so to say, to take risks, that if something goes wrong, they will not come heavily on them, which will then push them to a corner, but appreciate the attempt, the creativity, and even discuss what could be done so that we get it better done in future. So in a nutshell, we are talking about a situation where an open space for everybody to express him or herself freely without fear of being ridiculed, so to say. And therefore, everything that comes on the table, it is appreciated, and that in itself provides the psychological safety or safe work environment for every employee. So in a nutshell, this is what I think I can add on to what my colleague just said.
Fantastic. Thank you for the great insight, my panelists. Now, I want to ask the next question. Now, as leaders and as business leaders aside, how often do you feel employees hold back in the workplace?
Okay.
Or how often do you feel that reluctance to talk about real issues, to ask questions in the workplace, to seek clarity? Is that something you've observed as endemic, or?
I would say in our Ghanaian society, certainly the culture that most of us were raised from, it kind of, follow us through our education system and then to the workplace. Okay, so many a times people feel, they are reluctant to question the status quo, simply because one, either they themselves, they are timid because of their upbringing. Okay, the educational system, as I said, in itself also does not help, and you have situations where if you question, then you are quickly perceived as somebody who is attacking the person who is advancing that idea. And, nobody wants to be seen as attacking person. So that in itself forces people to step back and then quell. You have at times some ideas, even if it is not the best. That's what we talk about brainstorming. Brainstorming is to throw in anything that comes, and then as a team, you eventually sift through and agree what you will deal with now, deal with later, the one to discard. But if you bring an idea and you are ridiculed, certainly you will quail back into your shelf. If you challenge the status quo and then you find yourself being victimized, or a colleague being victimized or being punished, then naturally you don't have trust, for the system. And where, just as I think when you started, you gave me the preamble to the whole discussion, you talked about trust. If I don't trust that whatever I say will be taken as it is, but be used against me, then naturally there will be the tendency of people pulling back. And this is extremely common, very, very prevalent. I don't know what to say to put it to the public sector arena. Even in the private sector, I mean, those of us who have been exposed to various multinational environment, depending on the leader, depending on the type of leader you have, will then influence as to whether you are open to ridicule or you are open to being welcomed when your ideas, you float your ideas. So in essence, we still have a long way to go in our setup. But as I said, even in the multinational environment, this prevails. That where you will feel open to express yourself without feeling intimidated is where the leader you have has the mindset of allowing people to express themselves. Is a kind of a participative leadership style that a person practices. Then therefore the environment is safe for you to say what you want to say, but obviously being guided by rules, just as Roland indicated. You cannot say whatever you want to say by disrespecting people. And that's why I indicated earlier on that adult to adult communication pattern, that is we respecting each other's space, respecting one another in a way that you don't speak and talk down to anybody, So as long as this exists, then naturally, it's going to be a better place to work for. But in essence, most of the time, we have people quelling back because they are afraid of being ridiculed. They are afraid of being victimized. And unfortunately, because of some of the training that they've also had, they themselves, they are timid in expressing themselves, okay? And if they don't have confidence in the culture that will allow them to express themselves freely, then they will pull back.
That's
and
great.
Then keep quiet.
That's great.
Thank you.
Is that where you sit? Is this a problem?
It is a problem everywhere. It's not about where I sit. But I think Doug took it from an angle of culture and how people, the kind of orientation they've had over time, which is very true. But also we need to look at the psychological state of people and how they interpret things that happen around them. If depending on how you process the information that gets to you, depending on how you process the environment in which you find yourself, when you're given an opportunity, your state of mind also kind of gives you the opportunity to either speak or keep quiet, which Doug, spoke about. So for instance, as a leader, being able to have high emotional intelligence and being able to set the right tone and attitude within a particular context also kind of opens up to the extent to which the people will be willing to really express themselves or say what they have to say to you. But I think one of the things that, each and every one of us need to kind of begin to think about is how we process information. How, when things get to us, we process, and based on that, we decide to either coil in our shelves or voice out what we need to voice out. And then it goes to the extent of, okay, in terms of voicing out, how do you voice out, so that the message you're trying to get across is not diluted, i.e. you now turn out to be maybe disrespectful or, going overboard. But, the feeling that any leader gets when he opens the floor and asks people to contribute and share the ideas and everybody keeps quiet is frustration. Okay? So you get frustrated because you feel, look, this is something that we all need to find a solution to. As a leader, you might think you're doing the very best, okay? But probably you're not. Probably there are one or two things that are, not going well. And as we all know, you being on top, a lot of conversations happen below you. And sometimes it's within those forums that you can say, hey guys, tell me in your honest opinion, how can we do this better? What am I probably not doing well? But again, it comes down to the culture that, some of us have been, raised and we've gone through, and it goes like, oh, if I say this, would he look at it differently, or will he see it as an objective view of me expressing my view? So for me, there are two ways we need to look at this: how leaders in ourselves interpret some of these messages that are communicated to us. Do we see it as, information for us to enhance and improve on what we are doing? And also from the employee's perspective, when these environments are created and you have the opportunity to express yourself, what kind of message are you trying to communicate? How are you using that platform to communicate what will be beneficial to you and the team as a whole from a performance perspective? Because at the end of the day, whatever contributions that we are making are supposed to work towards us achieving specific goals as it relates to the work that we do. And there's not a platform for us to use to, just say what needs to be said. It needs to be value addition. And if there's not value addition, how do others chip in to help you shape that idea to make it value to the entire team as a whole? So that's it there.
Fantastic. That's great. Very insightful indeed. I know you guys have mentioned a couple of things, a couple of factors that cause people to shy away, but let's zoom into that specifically. Are there any other social factors that you think contribute to people in the workplace shying away from critiquing work processes, from challenging what it is and speaking up? Let me hear from Mr. Teye, then I'll come to Dr. Agbettor.
Okay, so I think from social factors, I think Doug has spoken about. I mean, culture is a critical part of it, but there's also the organizational culture. Okay, and when you enter any organization, there are some, the moment you enter, you can feel the tone, you can feel how things are expected to be done. And there are others you enter and it's very subtle. You can't really tell, whether you can voice out or you cannot. And there are others, the moment you enter, everybody goes like, hey, over here, be very careful what you say, be very careful what you do.
Yeah.
But I think even in some environments, at least in my own experience, and having worked for PwC, working for Deloitte, you find yourself in an environment where you've been able to speak what is in your mind. It's promoted. Is actually you're actually asked to air your views, contribute, because from what we do, every piece, every bit of information is critical. It can be a make or break. I've had instances of engaging people who work in the oil and gas sectors and those high hazardous areas. And you notice that one of the things that they preach each and every day is about safety, 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 but it goes down to reporting, speaking, saying it. Do not hold back. If something is wrong, say it. Okay. So the work environment, the work culture is one of them. What kind of message do we preach in the organization? How have we treated people who have taken the step to air their views and their concerns? I know organizations that have no retaliatory policy, okay, that if somebody airs their views on something, you have no right to retaliate, especially where whatever they've aired impacts you, be it, most likely probably negatively, but you cannot retaliate, because it is through that process of people being able to freely speak that we are able to make corrections and make changes that in the long run go to more or less improve and enhance what we do. So from a social factor, it's pretty much around culture, be it in the organization or outside the organization. And of course, when you talk about culture, you're talking about values, beliefs, norms. Religion is a dicey thing that you don't want to, delve into, but they are all things that play a role. And like I said in the beginning, we need to begin to rethink and, have a mindset that allows us to say, we are doing this because we want to add value. We are doing this because we believe people hearing and knowing will be able to learn from what we are sharing, rather than just keeping quiet because you feel what you're going to say. Somebody will sit back and say it's rubbish. So you're not just gonna air your view.
Great, right. Great. Doc, you've mentioned a number of them. Is there any other thing you want to add in regards to factors that might be hindering people speaking up in the workplace?
Just as Roland indicated, we've touched on the culture, and then the culture obviously relating to upbringing, from the home. You are virtually not allowed in the home, when you are being, parenting, to question anything, where you also more or less have a society where respect is equal to keeping quiet, not questioning. It's quite funny, the perception, If you keep quiet, you don't ask questions, it means you respect, It's quite funny, So this is how somehow, most of us were brought up with, And then you have society where leaders or older people are always right. Yeah. If they are always right, then on what basis do you go and question? Yeah. Exactly. On what basis do you go and question? And then, our educational system, it kind of builds you up that it is only those who are able to reproduce exactly what the teacher has given are those who do well. You are not allowed to use your own creative words to describe a situation which brings out the same meaning. So you're stick with what is given to you. Don't ask any questions. Certainly, this then evolved to we producing graduates who enter into the job arena, just pushed to a corner. They don't know how to question anything because that's how they have been developed. That's how they've been made, and it is quite gratifying to note that certainly when Ashesi came onto the scene, Ashesi University came onto the scene, they started breaking that system. That, look, write the way you understand it. Mm-hmm. We don't want you to copy what I have given. No, I will not accept that. Yeah. And as a result of this, and I'm sure Roland will agree with me, the corporate environment, Ghana corporate environment, quite a number of them appreciate the product that comes out of Ashesi, because they walk into your workplace, they start questioning. Yeah. They start questioning, they start, providing new creative things. I'm not saying that this is not being done by others from other universities, but for some strange reason, I mean, this way of, being able to question the status quo has now kind of been tagged to Ashesi graduates, because that's exactly what they do. And those who question means that they are ready to provide better ways of doing things. Or even if they don't, they are putting you on the spot so that you can think through the process and be able to come out with other stuff. So, I mean, and my brother also mentioned the organization itself, the culture that prevails there. Even if you come in and you are that timid type, but the culture within the organization is such that it enables you, encourages you to step out of your little cave and then begin to express yourself. I guess you will step out and then begin to emulate, because that is what the leadership is doing, and that's what they are actually demanding of you. So naturally, you will step out of that cold room and step into the warm room where you can express yourself, smile, engage, and not feeling intimidated. So these are, the general factors that I guess we all need to kind of appreciate.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. At this point, I want to acknowledge our host and convener, Mr. Nixon Amoah-Awuah, the MD for CarvinClay. Please, sir, anytime you want to add up, please feel free and add up to the conversation. So I know all we've talked about, it goes without saying that there are consequences to our actions or inactions as leaders. Mm-hmm. I want to find out from you, in your estimation, what are the consequences for not having that kind of culture where your people can speak up? Consequences to the individual employees, consequences to you as a business leader, the organization in terms of productivity in general. Just a quick one. So we just a quick one on that. I know bits and pieces of it has been mentioned, but what do you think are the consequences of having people sit back and, like Mr. Teye said, it gets frustrating, but beyond the frustration, what other losses are organizations incurring as a result of not having psychological safe work environments? Let me take it from Mr. Teye, then I'll come to Mr. Agbettor.
All right.
Yeah. I think the end result is low productivity. Poor performance. I mean, that's just the summary of it.
Yeah.
And where it might even get worse for you is when there's corridor violence. Mm-hmm. In that if they cannot say it in front of you, they're gonna say it elsewhere. Yeah. And trust me, you really like what we said over there. Mm-hmm. So just to sum it up, is for you as a business leader, for the organization as a whole, there'll be low productivity, performance will be bad, outputs to your clients will suffer. I mean, you cannot just underestimate, the impact. There's research to clearly show that there's a correlation between psychological safety as it feeds down to team effectiveness all the way down to performance. Mm. It is there. So that you will suffer it. But then what you have to deal with is the corridor violence that will be happening in your organization, where now wrong information begins to loiter around, and you have to now deal with that in addition to the performance issues you have to deal with. Yeah.
Fantastic. Great. Thanks, Mr. Teye. Doc.
Yes, I mean, my brother has summarized it nicely. The bottom line is that productivity will suffer greatly. in the sense that when it comes to the individual side, because morale will be so low, really, I mean, the performance that comes in will be very low. When it comes to the overall impact, there is a chance that such environment will naturally increase your staff turnover. And I think, so to some extent, in addition to the staff turnover, the grapevine that my brother said, will be thriving, because it's all about, individualism. There isn't that teamwork, and therefore, you don't know what is going on. Fear, people will gossip unnecessarily, thinking that that is what will get them where they want to get to. The leader may be seen to be an autocratic person, not approachable, and therefore people will play all kinds of games to worm into this person's heart. And that is the atmosphere that you don't want to have, because the end result of that is low productivity, which will then hit your revenue, and therefore your organization will be in danger of survival to a large extent, and that's exactly it. So I guess that's what I can add to my brother's submission.
Great. Just before we open the floor for questions and answers, I want to quickly find out from you. Our current environment, where there is a lot of us doing remote working and a lot of satellite teams around for almost every organization, how important is this culture? How important is psychological safety to this new environment and our way of working? So let me pick it up from Dr. Agbettor, then I can come to Mr. Teye.
I think this is a well-placed question, in the sense that, the present global business environment, which obviously is such that competition has been heightened, driven by technology. And with the onset of the COVID-19, which obviously I'll say accelerated the need for us to grab technology and appreciate the fact that we can work anywhere, or anywhere we find ourselves, we can be there and still work and contribute to what the organization requires of us. In essence, being away physically from the work environment in itself has its challenges. And the question is, how then do you have such people engaged in a way that they will still feel belonging and will be able to contribute meaningfully as it is expected? Certainly, this requires, and I think Roland mentioned it earlier on, grabbing on to inclusiveness and diversity. These are two key areas that, if you want to thrive in the present business world, you have no choice than to make do of them. Diversity, inclusiveness. So wherever the person is, you have to find the ways and means to engage. Fortunately for us now, technology can help bridge. It is not exactly the same thing sitting face to face physically, but there are alternatives that can help with that. Now you're talking about what we are using, the Zoom, the Teams, the WhatsApp, video, whatever. I mean, there are so many of them that you can use to engage a team and also do so individually, so that at the end of the day, you are ensuring that engagement is ongoing. Everybody feels they are still in and contribute to the growth or development of the organization. So certainly for me, this is what I'll probably say for now.
Fantastic. Thanks, Doc. So, Mr. Teye, In this new environment, how important is psychological safety?
So Doc talks about, you know, leveraging technology, but I think what I want to say is more around in leveraging the technology. What do we do when we initiate it? There are times when people engage their teams, let's say through a Zoom call, and the moment the call starts, it's just straight to business. We don't step back to ask, how's your day been? How have you coped? It's been years, some has been years actually, since you physically interacted, in terms of trying to set the right tone for people to have the mindset that you as a leader, you do care, you do appreciate, you do acknowledge the challenges they are going through to ensure that work still goes on. So I think the angle I would take from is, leaders need to begin, in terms of using this platform to also create that sense of you having some level of empathy, some sense of care by asking them how they are doing, how life has been, about family and stuff before we begin to delve into, the core business for which, we are there for the day. Because again, it sets the tone. And then, like I said in my earlier submission, it's about psychology, it's about how the person is processing the information by what they hear, what they see. And if you're able to set that right, is a step towards ensuring that you're setting the right psychologically safe environment for the people to voice out what they need to voice out to you. So yes, the technology, but what you do after that also becomes very critical in the process.
Fantastic. Nixon, at this point, can you let me hear from you before I move on to the question and answer session? My MD is here, so let's hear you, sir.
Patrick, thank you very much. And Roland, Abby, thank you very much for honoring this invitation. Let me apologize for my voice. I have lost my voice, so I'm not sure how I'm sounding. So forgive me if I'm not clear.
You sound Nixon, don't worry.
Thank you.
You can hear you loud and clear.
All right, thank you very much. I think the topic we have chosen is a very important one, not just at the workplace, but even within the society. If you cast your mind back to somewhere last year, you remember a conversation that Dr. Sam Jonah had, which brought out a whole lot of agitation within the country about the culture of silence. And so it is not something that relates to only the workplace. It goes beyond the workplace. And it is very important that we talk about it and look at what we can do as a leader, as a team member, to make the environment that we work in safe for other people to be themselves, as all the panelists have said, and then contribute well to whatever the company intends to achieve. The letter I'll add on to everything they've said, because they've said virtually everything. I mean, you cannot have a panel of Roland and Abby and something will be left. So they've said everything. But the letter I will add to it is that when I look at psychological safety at the workplace, I normally look at it from 4 main stages. The first one I look at it from is what I call the inclusion safety, where it manifests itself through the way but the behaviors of team members and leaders bring people into what they do. And it doesn't, in some teams, it does not exist. The leaders choose and pick. In some teams, it's open. Everybody is included. Everybody is involved in what is happening. And then the second stage I normally look at it from is what I call the learner safety. So learner safety, as Roland mentioned severally, is where people tend to feel comfortable asking any question without fear of thinking that people may think he is dumb or she is dumb, or why on earth would this person ask this question? I mean, being vulnerable in your knowledge, that's what I call the learner safety, and not be afraid to make a mistake. And the third stage is what I call the contribution safety, where people are free, very open, and very willing to contribute without fear of anything. When something comes up, they are very eager to add their voice into it without any fear. And then the last stage is what I call the challenger safety, which Roland also and Ebi mentioned, where people are either afraid to challenge or not afraid to challenge. Where there's safety, people are not afraid to challenge. When you bring something up, they are very eager to go on to challenge the status quo, to say, is this right? This is not right. Why are we doing it that way? Why don't we do it this way? And then you know you are the height of the psychological safety. And one thing that I want us to take note of is that normally we talk about leaders when we are talking about psychological safety, but there's also the element of team members in psychological safety. In one place that I worked, we had a town hall and one individual asked our VP a question in a very strong language. And after a while, after the session, I mean, about 2 months later, I had a conversation with the person, being the HR person. And the person told me about half the employees in the company came to him after the session to ask him, my brother, you should start finding a new job. So this is how people around you are thinking. And if you are told this, how would you be open? How would you ask questions the next time? How would you challenge something the next time? So it's not just the leader creating an environment for the team members to be confident to ask questions and challenge, but sometimes we, the team members ourselves, also creating the environment for ourselves to be comfortable, to be part of the team and to challenge and contribute to what the team is doing. So that is a little bit I will add on to it. So thank you, Ebi, thank you, Roland, and thank you, Patrick.
Thank you, Nixon. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Nixon. I have a couple of hands popping up already and a couple in the chat box. But let me take the question from Ibrahim Musa first. Then I'll come to Andy, then I'll get to the chat box. The space is yours. Ibrahim. Ryan, can you hear me? Are you able to unmute yourself? Okay, I think I can't hear Ibrahim. While we try to get Ibrahim, can I hear from Andy Manome?
Yes, Patrick. Good morning, team. And please, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Andy.
Thank you. Good to see you, Dr. Patrick, again. Good to see my lecturer, Dr. Agbettor over there. And good to hear from Nixon. It's a good session. I'm excited about this because for us as HR practitioners, I mean, our basic job is to get the right kind of people in the work environment to work. And so if fundamentally, just like the panelists said, from home, they don't have the courage, they don't have the ability, the natural attitude to ask questions. They are afraid. We may not get the best out of them. And it's our responsibility to create, and when I say our HR practitioners, the enabling environment for people to feel comfortable, to ask questions and to feel free. And I'm not saying this because Patrick is here, but Patrick, you are one of those back then who I can easily come to and share ideas to. And I will say that I'm here because of you, Patrick. I want to say thank you to you. But I think one thing HR partners must do is to go to these agencies of socialization and do the education. For example, in our churches, we have fire service people coming, health people coming, this COVID thing and all those things. HR practitioners must go to churches, must go to mosques and speak to parents, women's societies, how to raise their kids in this challenging environment so that when they arrive at the work setting, the HR do not have a lot of work to be done so that naturally they are prepared and so on and so forth. I know the work, but HR practitioners must step out. For example, there are discussions about the Minister of Education is having look, open doors for this top secondary schools to take on Agri 23 and all those things. For me, it's an HR issue. Because what kind of human resource are we building after us? Would they be psychologically prepared? What is the HR discussion in there? So that our future workforce, apart from the technical knowledge, will be technically prepared and so on and so forth. So this education must continue to go on so that the best kind of human resource we have for Ghana to be prepared for both industry and whatever service that we provide. That's the short intervention I want to add. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Andy. Thank you so much. I think we have Ibrahim now. Ibrahim, can we hear you? Oh, okay. We're getting some background noise from Ibrahim. Yeah, can we hear you? Okay, I think we are having issues here in Ibrahim. So let me take a couple of questions from the chat box while we try to connect with Ibrahim. Ebenezer asks, said, my question is it right for staff to keep mute on issues or discussion when those in leadership position ignore their contributions during meetings on execution, I suppose? So please, if I don't carry the meaning or your question properly, you can unmute yourself and ask it just for clarity so our resource persons are able to do justice to it. Then let me take the second one. Yes. Okay. This.
Good morning to everyone. Yes, please. I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Great.
So my question is, in a situation where you are a staff in an organization and during meetings, the leaders and the management will always ask for your opinion on issues. But at the end, when you share your opinion, it is well appreciated during meetings. But at the end, you end up seeing that all the leaders or the management, what they said at the meeting is being executed, ignoring your comments. So I'm asking, is it right for me to keep mute since no matter how good my contribution is, they will ignore it? So then I see no essence of me having time, taking my time to comment, because at the end, it seems like they came out just to pass out information to us without considering our issues. So I'm asking as a staff and as an upcoming professional accountant, is it good to even share or to comment on issues that relate to my field? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eben. I think this clarified. I couldn't get it properly from the chat. So before I get to the panelists to attend to Eben's question, let me add the next one in the chat box. Then we can attend to the two at a go. This person has no name. It's a Zoom user. I say, what do you do if a team member, you recognize that you are not in a psychological safe environment where you gauge the culture and you see that you cannot challenge things much? Okay, so basically what he's saying is, if you are in an environment where you can't say psychological safe, it doesn't encourage speaking up, what do you do? How can you? Okay, I'm not sure whether it's a contribution, it's a question, but what I suppose he wants to ask is, if the environment is not friendly, what do you do? So let's hear from Dr. Agbettor, and then we can go to Mr. Teye. Doc, you are muted.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you can hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, all right. From the first colleague who asked the question, in essence, if I'm right, he's saying that if you are contributing to discussions and your ideas, you see that maybe on the surface, they seem to have accepted it, but then later you realize that they have disregarded it and it continues for a long time. What do you do? Do you keep quiet? I will say that, look, persistence and perseverance will always eventually yield the results. You may contribute now. They may think it's a good idea, but probably on further consideration, based on factors that you may not privy to, they may decide not to carry through your suggestion. That is not, as long as you have not been disregarded in terms of you being dismissed, but it has been taken on, but has not been used to execute any policy, does not mean that it has not been taken on board. It may have been factored in helping to shape up the final decision, which maybe yours is not so obvious to see, but it's in there. So I will advise that as long as you are not being shut down, as long as you are not being belittled or trivialized, I would say keep on contributing your ideas. Maybe this time is not working, but trust me, somewhere along the line, one will be picked up and that will become the flagship. And that will then be the breakthrough for you. So I will encourage you to keep it going. And you see, as you are also doing that, you are also sharpening your skills of articulating your ideas in a manner that people can understand you. Okay, so the more you practice contributing, you are also sharpening your skills in articulating your ideas to top management. So keep on doing it. And that's exactly what I can say to you. And I'll encourage you to keep that going.
Great.
And then the other question was to do with the fact that if the environment is not conducive or psychologically safe, what do you do? There are two things, or should I say options you have. There are those who opt to get out of that place. And that is your personal decision, because then it will be their loss, because maybe you are a great talent whereby you could contribute immensely to the development and growth of that company. But because of this prevailing situation that is so negative, you then decide to leave and you move on and you go to where possibly the culture is more safe for you to then meaningfully contribute your ideas. The other is making an attempt to see whether you can help to change that prevailing culture that you know is not helping. Possibly putting a paper together. And I would say, an HR person, you must cultivate the habit of putting proposals together. Put a proposal together and submit to the top management on the fact that this is what the prevailing situation is and its repercussions on the company. And then now providing what you believe, if it is adopted, the benefits that organization stands to gain. So put a brief proposal to top management and see whether they will pick it up. If they pick it up, you will become a champion of that change that you are advocating. And before you realize, you are up standing in front of top management board, speaking to this particular new model that you think will benefit the company. So for me, it's two things. Either you decide to move, or if you are not moving, then put a solid proposal to top management, showing them what the situation is and the negative impact on the company now, and what you are proposing and the positive benefits that the company stands to gain from it. And then you leave it, and then let's see what comes out of it. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. It's getting interesting. More questions are coming in, and we are also racing against time. So in the next 5-6 minutes, we are out of here. I want to pick this question. I can see a hand up. I'll come to you, then you ask your question. There's a question in the chat box. It says, are there shortfalls associated with creating a psychologically safe environment? And how do we resolve these? So that is the question. Shortfalls, are there shortfalls in creating these psychologically safe environments? If there are, how do we resolve these shortfalls? So if you permit me, Doc, let me take the question, the person who has a hand up, then you can attend to the two at a go. Okay. So I can see EAP Africa. If you can unmute yourself and ask your question, your hand is up.
Okay, thank you so much. It's very, very interesting discussion. I really have gained a lot of knowledge from here. I think my question is to Dr. Agbettor. I'm really happy to hear that the Labour Act section, is it 118 is being reviewed?
Exactly. The entire document is being reviewed, but that is one of the areas that is being looked at.
So we run employee assistance program, a 24-hour service that provide a platter of psychosocial support for any work, personal, family-related issues people can call in. So organizations that are registered with us will call in with any of these issues, and we've got a multidisciplinary staff to attend to the problems. We've got a lot of multi-nationals who've embraced our program and stuff. But we're raising awareness in Ghana, but sometimes it's very difficult in terms of getting the national companies on board. Just wanted to find out from you, in terms of the review, what is the time frame of implementation? And I love what you said, that now it's going to be considered as a must-have instead of a good to have. It has to be a must-have. And I think it's a very good space to be in. And I think it's about time we make psychological safety support a strategic priority and a business imperative. So it'd be nice to have an idea in terms of the implementation and how best we can all work together to promote this. Because that's my heartbeat.
That's nice to hear. That's nice to hear. I guess, Patrick, let me probably answer my sister straight away, then I'll come back to the first question. Time frame for the review. I mean, trust me, we were hoping it would have been done by now, but that is not the case. It is the Ministry of Labor Relations that is sponsoring this review. I must say we've come far after all the written contributions that were sent. We also met physically for about 4 days in whole, and all the stakeholders, should I say, were there, obviously explaining their contributions. I would say it was a very, very interactive, very interesting session that we had. And now they've captured all that. They've resent it, and we are hoping that we will meet again in Accra here, and then maybe fine-tune the various areas. But to be honest with you, when you talk about timelines, personally, I'm not able to firm anything up. But as I said, with the original timeline, we should have been done by now. But that is not the case. But I'm hoping that maybe by the summertime, hopefully all this would have been wrapped up, and that's gone through Parliament and blah, 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 blah. But as you know, I mean, some of these things are quite unpredictable. So we can only hope and pray and keep at it, that this will become a reality soon. Because, I mean, there are quite a number of areas. It's not just this psychological safety area. There are all kinds of areas. And I'm sure for you, Patrick, you'll be glad to hear that paternity leave is seriously being considered to be enshrined in it. So guys who are on them. And then for the ladies, you'll have your husbands around when you have the little ones. So for a little while, you know. So that is something that is being good, but among a lot of things. Okay.
Thank you, Doc. Then, so the shortfalls, quickly on the shortfalls.
Yeah,
then,
the shortfall.
Yes.
The shortfall here is one, the commitment from leaders to ensure that this is practiced to the letter, not as and when, it is practiced to the letter. That means as much as possible, you provide opportunities for staff to feel at ease. And even if there's a kind of, naturally we will disagree here and there, but that disagreement has to be managed in a way that you respect each other. And even if it gets to the point that you agree to disagree, it is also okay, you know. So it is about being committed to it, and the leaders are not allowing their ego to come in, because when you have these youngsters or these junior guys maybe posing questions to you, If you don't take care, your ego will say to you, why was this small boy? Where are you coming from? What do you do? You know? So the issue of ego is critical, especially on the leadership side. And then on the employee side, the fact that we are now open and you can ask any question is also not an excuse for you to speak anyhow. You know, speak anyhow and come across as arrogant and rude and speak, you know, down to maybe your colleagues, who some of them are your even seniors in the organization. So with that, you are talking about ensuring that people are trained. And I'm sure, Patrick, you know, when it comes to the communication aspect, it is so key, because you may have the most brilliant idea, but how you articulate it, and especially when you are speaking in a way that somehow it is kind of discarding somebody's argument that the person has presented already. It has to be handled and dealt with in a way that you do not show disrespect to that person. So these are some of the fallout areas that we need to manage. And here again, you have to kind of give people the training how to communicate, how to articulate, how to present your case. You know, it's different from you talking to your friend down there than talking to your colleagues in the office on issues, or talking to your seniors. It's a way of you handling and managing this kind of various levels of communication.
Fantastic. This is an interesting area, an interesting topic that we'll find it difficult to do justice to in about an hour conversation. So it's an ongoing conversation for all of us. There are a lot of questions out there, but we are not able to take all of them. I will ask the last words from Dr. Agbettor, and then I can hand over back to CarvinClay, and we'll call it a day. So, Doc, your last words, if any.
Okay. What I would say is that as a leader, being inclusive and transparent is very critical to one's leadership style or approach being successful. At the end of the day, employees' performance will improve as a result of creating a psychological safe workplace. And that employees who feel safe and engaged at work are not likely to quit, thereby keeping your staff turnover in check. So I will encourage all leaders to ensure that they work towards ensuring that psychological safe workplace is provided. And it is the role of the leader to ensure that such enabling environment prevails and is maintained. And in so doing, also look at the employee side, what you can do to let them appreciate this provision that is there so that they can add on and help with the development and then the growth of the organization.
Great.
I want to say thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Doc. Just a quick one. I'm not able to come to. Is Mr. Teye still on? If Roland is on, please, can we have your last words? I can't see.
I've been here.
Oh, great, great. I thought I lost you.
I thought he was also off. Wow.
Yeah, I thought I lost you. Great, good you're here. So your last words. Sorry.
Okay, so I think, on this call, we do have quite a number of HR practitioners on this call. And I think I'll rather use my last words to, address something where one was talking about, trying to get your message across, but it looks like nobody's listening, and leadership tend to turn it away. I think for all our HR practitioners, we need to begin to understand that what we are good at is just talking. We do not leverage on the data available to us. We sit on so much data. Yes, you have a psychologically safe environment, but how you present your message, you present the data, is what determines whether management will pick it up or not pick it up. And I guess apologies to the non-HR practitioners, but I think this is very important to HR practitioners. Don't just talk. use the data. Let's even look at the topic we are discussing today, psychological safety. How are we leveraging on the data from a grievance perspective where people have reported on retaliations and whatever? How is that linked to attrition within the business? I mean, the exit interviews we do, the reasons why people are leaving, how we leverage on that, all that data to build a case to leadership for them to understand and see the perspective from which we are coming from. Also underestimates the power of perception as leaders. How people perceive us has a long way to go in determining whether they're going to be willing to talk or not, whether they're going to be silent destroyers or open ones. It's better to know who's killing your business than the one who is just quiet and just doing what they need to do. So, I mean, great opportunity to share thoughts on psychological safety, but we should all appreciate that it goes just beyond that. Psychological safety is just one of the many things that we need to take into account when we want to have a thriving business and a healthy, workforce to do their best. So I'll say thanks to CarvinClay for the opportunity, and we look forward to some other time to contribute our little quota. And thanks, Patrick, as well for the moderation. And
thanks so much.
As well. All right, thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much. So at this point, I'll bring in Emilia. Then we can close the session. Emilia, are you still here?
Yes, I'm here.
Great.
Hi, thank you. That was a wonderful session. Thank you so much, Patrick and Mr. Agbettor and Mr. Teye. It was absolutely wonderful and very, very informative and educative. I just wanted to add that I can see from the comments that there are quite a few questions we were unable to address. So I'm going to put my email address in the chat box now. Please feel free to email me, and then we'll get back to you with the responses, because like you said, there's quite a bit of conversation to be had, and we are more than happy to support in that capacity. You can also call me if email is not convenient, and we can have that conversation. We're very much looking forward to that. Also, I wanted to add that there are other tools that we also have available that will be more than happy to work with HR professionals in particular, because I was really excited when Mr. Teye brought up the issue of data. We do a series of surveys, and we saw that one of the surveys we did recently, mid-level employees were more likely to switch jobs because of remuneration, while senior level executives were more likely to switch jobs because of the environment. And it was very interesting to us as consultants, because it shows that they were the people in the position to make these culture changes and these environments that make people want to stay. And yet they were saying, they pointed at being the largest reason for leaving. So there are a number of data that is out there that we're constantly soliciting, and within organizations, you should do that yourself to see what is happening within your space and how you can pitch that. And we're really excited and really looking forward to working with everyone on this call to get you to your psychologically safe environment. So just a quick reminder again, feel free to email me with your questions, any of the questions you have here, and we'll be sure to respond as soon as we can. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emilia. For CarvinClay, you can be sure we always offer you value. So let's all follow CarvinClay. I can see a lot of requests about a repeat. Yes, I'm sure Nixon will see that, and Team CarvinClay will see that.
Yes.
I'm sure they won't disappoint us. So I want to thank my panelists, Dr. Ebenezer Agbettor and Mr. Roland Teye, for the lovely insight you shared with us. I've enjoyed myself in the last 1 hour or so. I want to thank every single participant for sharing your valuable time with us. We are truly grateful. It is my hope that whatever we've discussed here, we'll find ways and means of putting it to use. And like I said, it's a huge topic to exhaust. Let's keep the conversation going. And I'm sure our workplaces will be safer and better for all of us to be able to contribute our quota and put our full potential to use for Mother Ghana to benefit. I want to thank you all for the opportunity for moderating this session. Thank you so much, CarvinClay, and thank you so much, everyone. God bless.
Thank you too, Patrick. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you so much.
Bye.
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 Goodbye, everyone. Hey,
Bye,
Auntie. Oh, hello. Who am I speaking with? Yes, hi. Bye.
Have a nice day, Julia.
You too. I look forward to receiving your emails. So just check the chat and feel free to email me with your comments.
Sure.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much, Nana. Thank you.